The demons believe what? I believe that God is. I believe that God exists. I believe that God is one. I believe that God has authority. I believe that Christ is God. I believe that Christ exists. I believe that Christ is. I believe that Christ has authority. I believe that Christ has control over all things. I believe. The question is, does that belief or will that belief save me? Is that the type of belief that saves? Or is that just saying belief? In the book of James, James chapter 2, verses 14, we're going to look at verses 14 through 19. I'm going to pull out just two things that James is going to communicate to us concerning verses 14 through 19. And I want to think about this. I want to think about what James is saying. I want to communicate to you all what James is saying so that you also can think about what James is saying concerning this saying faith versus this saving faith. So let me just give you first and foremost, right off the bat, let me give you the two things that we can pull from verses 14 through 19. The first thing is saying faith with no evidence of saving faith is dead faith. Verses 14 through 17. I'll say it again. Saying faith with no evidence of saving faith is dead faith. We'll unpack that in a minute. The second thing is verses 18 and 19, saying faith with no evidence of saving faith is demonic faith. What you say, Brother Claude? I'll say it again. Saying faith with no evidence of saving faith is demonic faith. Man, what does that mean? Let's unpack it. Let's look at it. Let's look at verse 14, 15, and 16. Or verses 14 through 17. I just want to share this with you right off front because I don't know if everybody out there studied the scriptures the way they should, but we're going to see some repeated words. And when we see these repeated words, we need to pay attention to these words. So one of the repeated words we're going to see is the Apostle James used the word say often in this passage. And so that should make a light bulb go off in our mind. He's talking about something concerning what someone says, right? And so let's look at it. He says, what use is it, my brothers, if someone say, that's the first one, he has faith. So his saying is tied to this faith that he say he have. And then it goes on to say, but have no works. What he's saying is, if that faith that he says he has no evidence of it, then he goes on to say, can that faith save him? So what James is saying, listen, you say you have faith, but I don't see no evidence of that faith. And the question then becomes, can that faith that you say you have save you? Can it save you? So that's the first thing we need to think about. James is looking at someone who says that they have faith. But if I look behind him on either side, or I look through the corridor of his life as a person who say they have faith, but I don't know if I see any evidence of that faith. Can that faith save him? That's the questions that the Apostle James imposes or brings forth to the believer, to those who were hearers of this letter. If you say you have faith, but there's no evidence of it, can that faith save you? Then he gives verses 15 and 16, he gives an illustration of what he's talking about in verse 14. And oftentimes people get confused by the illustration. They get confused by the illustration because they get tied up in the illustration and not understanding what James is communicating in the illustration. If you were just to read it off cup, it says, if a brother or sister is without clothing and in need of daily food, and one of you say to them, go in peace, be warm and be filled, yet do not give to them what is necessary for their body, what use is that? So right off the cuff, we can talk about, okay, somebody who gives to someone in need. I can do that. But is that what he's talking about as far as evidence of something that you say? Somebody said, well, I give toward the community. Is that the evidence of what the Apostle James is saying? Because see, anybody can help someone in the community. Anybody can give toward someone who is in need. That type of evidence does not determine whether your saying faith is saving faith. No, he's talking about something more deeper. Let's look at it again. If a brother or sister is without clothing and in need of daily food, this is a basic necessity for human life. We need food and we need clothing, right? And one of you say, that's the second time he used that word, say to them. This is someone who's communicating to someone who is in need. Now let's understand what he's saying. Say to them, go in peace, be warmed, and be filled. So this person who says to them makes a declaration that would provide for them. But the problem with the declaration, there is no evidence of the declaration. He just says to them, go in peace, be warmed, and be filled. These are things that people communicate, say, but how will they be warm? How will they be filled if there's no evidence of them actually being warm or being filled? You see what he's saying? So there is someone who says something, but yet there is no evidence by that which they are saying. This is what the illustration is conveying to us. And he goes on to say, and one of you say to them, go in peace and be warm and be filled, yet do not give them what is necessary for their body. What use is that? So if I say something, but there's no evidence of what I'm saying, what use is it? If I say I have faith, but yet there's no evidence of the faith, what use is it? As James says in 14, can that faith save him? So saying faith with no evidence of saving faith is dead faith. Look at verse 17. Even so, faith, if it has no works are the evidence of the saying faith, it is dead by itself. So what he's saying is, if there's saying faith, but no evidence of that saying faith, or no evidence of that saving faith, that is saving faith, then that faith is dead faith. But he don't stop there, y'all. No, he don't stop there. Look at what he's saying. But someone will say, verse 18 and 19, and then I'm done. Verse 18, but someone will say, you have faith and I have works. This is someone who's communicating that they have faith, but their faith is saying faith, not saving faith, because their faith has no evidence, right? But you will say, you have faith and I have works. Show me your faith without works. This is someone who says that they have faith, but there is no evidence of that faith, and I will show you my faith by my works. This is someone else who have saving faith, and their saving faith is shown by the evidence of itself. So then the question becomes, what is more? What is truth? What is genuine? What is real? Is the saving faith real with no evidence? Or is the saving faith which produces evidence is real? So that's the other comment or other statement or other declaration that the Apostle James is presenting before the audience, right? And then he goes on to say, you believe that God is one. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Do I believe that God is one? Yes. Do I believe that God exists? Yes. Do I believe that God is? Yes. Do I believe that God has authority? Yes. Do I believe that Christ is God? Yes. Do I believe that Christ has authority? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Look at what he says. You believe that God is one. You do well. He said, you do well. The demons. Uh-oh, shut your mouth, Brother Claude. The demons. What you say, James? The demons also believe. Wait, hold up, hold up. Listen, y'all. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand this. If the demons, before they were demons, were angels that worshiped God, they know that God exists. They know that God is one. They know that they believe that God exists. They believe that God is one. They believe that God is. They believe that God has authority. They believe that Christ is God. We're going to see this. They believe all of these things. Look at what he says. Do you believe that God is one? You do well. You know, when I read that, I say, okay, he about to set him up. You do well. It's a good thing. It's a good thing that you believe that God is. It's a good thing that you believe that God exists. It's a good thing that you believe that God is and he exists and he is God. It's a great thing that you believe that. And then he goes on to say the demons also believe and they shudder. Listen, one thing that the demons have over many people who say they believe is that they have a fear concerning the existence of God. I'll say it again. They have a fear concerning the existence of God. Not only do they believe, but that which they believe, they shudder because they know that which is true. They have a fear concerning it. But is that all the demons believe? No, we can find what else the demons believe in a different passage. If we run over to Matthew chapter 8, and I don't know why I chose Matthew 8 because I think Luke gives a better understanding, but we're going to look at Matthew chapter 8 verses 28. Matthew 8 verses 28, 29, and 30. Let's look at this. It says, when he came, now Christ gets out of the boat and he's walking up to the Gadarenes, and two men who were demon possessed are approaching him. In another passage, you're going to see, if you all look at another passage concerning this in the book of Luke, you'll see that they bow down. Matthew doesn't mention them bowing down, but I think Luke does. Luke or Mark, one of them mentions that they bow down. And he says, look at what 28 says. And when he came to the other side into the region of the Gadarenes, two men who were demon possessed met him as they were coming out of the tombs. So these two men are coming out of the tombs and they spot Christ. And the Bible says, as they were coming out of the tombs, they were as they were coming out of the tombs, and then it goes on to say they were so extremely violent that no one would pass by that way. And behold, they cried out. Like I said, in the book of Luke, Luke gives further explanation. I think Luke or Mark gives further explanation that they bow down before him. Now, these are demons, y'all. These are demon-possessed men. One of the scriptures says they were legions. These are demon-possessed men. And it says that, and they cried out saying, what do we have to do with you, Son of God? The demons recognize that Christ is God. So the demons believe that he is God. The demons believe that God exists. The demons believe that Christ is God. The demons also shudder at that belief, at that truth. They tremble, they shudder at that truth, right? These are what the demons believe, and this is how they respond to that which they believe. Look at what he says. What do you have to do with What do we have to do with you, Son of God? They recognize that Christ is God. Have you come here to torment us before time, before our time? Look at what else. They not only believe that Christ is God, but they believe that Christ has authority over their existence, has authority over their destination, has authority over them. So they not only believe that God is one, they not only believe that God exists, they not only believe that God is, they also at that belief shudder at that the totality of that belief, but they also believe that Christ is God, and they also believe that Christ has authority. And Christ has authority over their destiny. Look at what he says. Now there was a herd of many swine feeding at the distance from them, and the demons began to plead with them, with him. Who is him? Christ, Yeshua, saying, if you're going to cast us out, send us into the herd of swine. Like I said, Mark or Luke gives a little more details on this information. I just wanted to let you know what the demons believe. So the question then becomes, the question is, what do you believe? What is the difference between demonic belief and salvific belief? That evidence, that's the difference. Is there evidence of your saying faith? What is that evidence, Brother Claude? The evidence of being born again. Christ tells Nicodemus in John chapter 3, if you're not born again, you cannot enter the kingdom of God. Being born again by who? By the Spirit of God. The evidence is a changed heart. The evidence is seeing God differently. Seeing man differently, seeing sin differently, having a biblical worldview rather than a worldview, pursuing God, pursuing his holiness, pursuing his righteousness that bears fruit. And the fruit shows evidence of salvation, of salvific faith. Therefore, when I look behind your saying faith, I can see evidence of that saying faith by that saving faith, because I see the fruit that accompanies the saying faith. That's the difference between demons' belief and the Christian belief. Demons know all of this is true, but they ain't following Christ. Demon knows all of this is true, but they're not following God. But saving faith follows Christ. Saving faith follows God. Saving faith has a biblical worldview. Saving faith understands God's economy. Saving faith is constantly being sanctified. So just wanted to share that with you all. I hope that was a blessing to you all. Until the next time I get on, Godspeed.